Hi, good evening, home language and first additional language. It's quite early afternoon. It's now 14:35 from a very chilly, bit of a midwinter type of day here in the Eastern Cape. But it's the second last week of the semester, so we're getting there. One final Zoom getting together next week with I think it's best practices in teaching. Tonight, I'm actually going to look at texts or approaches for teaching literature. So these might help you with the assignment, although the D date is now the 25th of June, which is Friday night. Hope you're all doing well. I know it's been a demented week and you must be feeling chaotic, as I am feeling with the mark load and everything else. But as I said last week, just take it one step at a time. And I know we're going to get there. Sometimes I doubt it, but I'm hoping to. I know a lot of you are impatient about your marks. I had another email just now before I started recording. We are just coming out of the moderation period for assignment 1. I'm still waiting for the home language SP moderation to come through, and I cannot release the marks until then. Just to let you know that the marking has been onerous. It takes 30 minutes at least to mark one assignment, and then it's all going to go through moderation. So please be patient with us. Assignment 2s are still hidden because we're still marking it. I've only started marking teaching English home language, SP. I've marked 40 of them. And I know my markers are busy as well. So please just bear with us. I know it's not ideal, but I don't know how to hasten the process with so many of the people that are taking English. Okay, I hope you can understand. I'm also fought. Okay, so let me just share my screen with you and we can get going with this afternoon's learning event. Here we go. I might make a few comments as we're going through on the assignments as I remember it, but I'm hoping you're all doing okay and you've managed to get all your submissions in and that you're coping with the load. I know it's been immense for many of you. Right, so text for teaching literature is the topic for tonight. And there you can see Once Upon a Time, which heralds our short story. We've done the dramas. We've done the poetry. It says here, Blind Bard. Now I am officially a woman, and I wonder if being a woman has always been associated with hiding pain. So maybe being a woman, we always have to hide pain somewhere along the line, but I'm sure men have to do that sometimes too. But overall, the whole thing about Unit 3 has been reading. And we're going to look at what CAP says about reading, because the genre teaching is all about reading. It impacts on the ability to understand, to interpret, to evaluate, to work with words, to work with understanding. So reading is integral to all our genres in the teaching of literature. Okay, our spreadsheet. You can see the reds appearing for home language. I can see that you're all in the midst of crises, especially if I look at the only 57 SPs that submitted the film study for quiz number 9. And I was looking at quiz 10, which is now due visual literacy on Sunday night. It's 29:47 so far. I'm sure the numbers might not go up very much because you've got assignment 3 and assignment 4 due as well. So well done to those who've actually got it in. Just looking at assignment 1 and 2. As you can see, there are a lot of you that are submitting. Thank you for getting them in. And hopefully when you see your marks, just know at this point, although they've been internally moderated, they're still provisional until they've been through the external moderation. So unfortunately, you can't have remarks, you can't have resets, you can't have anything because they're all provisional at this point. Okay, assignment 3 is due now too. So well done with that. And yeah, we know about all the demands on your time and for quiz 9 and quiz 10. I don't know, it's a stressful time and it's not lost on me. I know how you're all feeling as well. And if I get a bit antsy with all the millions of emails, then forgive me as well. For the first additional language, also again, you can see the red kaleidoscope coming in for quiz 9 and 10. Numbers are totally down and 25 submitted to quiz 10, but you still got till Sunday night. Although a good few of you did the film study, the 148 of you, so maybe you found it quite entertaining. Well done. And again, assignment 1s and 2s, a lot of you submitting. Let's see what happens with assignment 3. I'll put these figures up next week. Okay, now final Zoom lecture on Thursday. All right, well done. And hang in there. Don't feel too thwarted by the immensity of the load. I've said to some people, you can always change to 18 months or 2 years part-time. If you are working full-time, I know it must be crushing to try and do everything as you are doing. Okay, activities, online tracking, as I said, we've got the visual literacy due on Sunday as well. And then the text or resources for teaching literature will be due on the 4th of July. Then that'll be it. And all those little 1% will count towards your participation mark. And you can see I've changed the date to Friday, the 25th of June, 2021 for assignment 3. Submissions have to be on, turn it in. I'm going to go through this again, and I'll again remind you when I get to my little slide now on assignment 3, and it'll be for assignment 4 as well. So unit 3 has all been about reading. There is a reading. We've done all these different genres. You've looked at all of them in your assignment 3 as well. If you've done SP and FET, you've done most of them. All right. There they all are. And there's the chapters from Ferreira. Tonight we're looking at creating, or we're giving text for teaching literature as well. And those are part of your resources. And next week we finish off with best language teaching practices, which hopefully will be quite exciting as well. It's all based on research and what we should be doing when we are language teachers. Okay, here's my assignment 3 notes. And for all the people that actually email me asking me all these questions about the assignments, I wonder if you ever listen to what I say in my lectures. I'm actually going to do some research on this because, yes, I think everything just goes over your head, goes right through. There's no processing or understanding of what I'm saying when I say what I say during these lectures. So please, I've had lots of queries. There are some high similarity in indexes on Turnitin. Please put in text references where you have got the insert, and that means not just a link. It means the author's name and the year. If there's no year, it's no date. If there's no author's name, then you put the name of the title and no date or the date. So check on how to do in-text references if you're not sure, and then the full complete reference in your references. I will double check this, otherwise it's plagiarism. And make sure your reference list is alphabetical as well. Does that make sense? Alphabetical. And again, links are not an in-text or a full reference. They are just links. You don't just put links down. Links become part of your full reference. Go and check up on electronic referencing. It's the document that you must look at for referencing is on my welcome site. You can go and check it there. The format, how you must structure your assignment. Each of the genres is a class activity, not a lesson plan, please. Okay, you're not asked to do a lesson plan. It's a class activity. So it's going to be something you're setting to study or analyze, a short story, a drama, a film clip, a poem, piece of reading, sharing the same theme. Okay, so a lot of you are still very confused about what the FETs must do and what the SPs must do. Go and look at my previous presentations. Go and look at the actual assignment guide that I've put up with assignment 3, and you'll see exactly what you must do. You just have to do a bit of work as well. And I think don't rely too much on those WhatsApp groups. I think things go a bit crazy there, I think, and you get all kinds of strange notions, and they come out in the emails as well. Okay, so for each activity, you've got to have a heading. So you're going to have grade 9, reading activity, and maybe even put a date in it. Please go look at the template I uploaded with assignment 3. It's giving you an example of how you can actually introduce and give instructions around the reading task, and that can link to your prior learning as well, because you will get a mark for that. So have headings, have grades, have instructions. Because remember, this is an activity your students must be able to work through without you steering them through it. It's a class assessment or activity type thing, which you're going to do a memorandum for. And please put the mark allocations in. Left justify, so they're all underneath each other with a total mark, and just look at mark allocations in question types as well. Please. Okay, yes, not please. Okay, please. All 4 genre activities must be submitted as one document. So you're going to have, if you have a look at my template, there's a table of contents. You're going to explain the theme to me, and then you're going to give me the order of what the 4 activities will be, each with a memorandum. The memorandum is not inserted inside the activity, because you don't give the students the activity with the memorandum inside. It's a separate document with a heading linking it to your activity. So you would give this to a marker, and they would have the heading of what the activity was. They will be able to go from that and actually mark the actual assignment with ticks and mark allocations spelled out and quite clear what must get a mark. Use a PDF when you're uploading on ECI, and at this point you must upload on ECI with a PDF, and you must upload on Turnitin. If you do not upload on Turnitin, I'm not going to mark it, because you're not exposing yourself to plagiarism, and that index must be there. So you have to, so we're only going to be looking at Turnitin. If you decide you're not uploading on Turnitin, that's fine. We're not going to mark your assignment. I don't know how I can be clearer than what I'm saying this. Right. Use your table of contents so that I can see clearly you've got all the sections. And if it's not submitted on Turnitin, it will not be marked. If you don't know how to submit on Turnitin, please email me. I can then take it actually, and I can upload it for you. But I think you're all able to do that now. I'm hoping you are. Right. Okay. That's for assignment 3. Hopefully there are no questions. Okay, for tonight, this afternoon, we can look at CAP's approaches to teaching literature. And I think some of you have asked me to give some understanding of what CAP says about literature teaching, about any teaching. So this will give you some insight at it. Okay, I see I've uploaded a lot of quotations with all my slides. So maybe you'll find it interesting, maybe you won't, but bear with me. Okay. So firstly, we can look at different activities, tasks, and approaches for the various genres we've looked at, starting with reading. And this little quote which says, I can't see this underneath it, about books. They should be part of your life because they let you travel without moving your feet. And at the moment, I'm reading The Missing Sister by Lucinda Riley, and I'm in the middle of Ireland and Dublin, and it's taken me to all kinds of remote places, from New Zealand to London to New York. I think it's to Toronto in Canada. So you can move and see these places just by being exposed to reading. Isn't that a wonderful thing? An opening of your eyes and how you can move in the world because you are reading. Right, so with these activities, tasks, and approaches, we look at reading first of all, then we look at poetry, different analysis and approaches we can have for studying and teaching poetry, the short story and novel together, and then a drama. Okay, and Charles Bukowski says, without literature, life is hell. So those of you that are sold on reading will actually agree with me that if you haven't got your books and you haven't got something to read, life is meaningless. I mean, you might say, if I haven't got a screen, life is hell. But maybe those of you that enjoy reading will understand exactly what I'm saying. Right, so, and we also look at different texts and worksheet examples that you could actually use for teaching literature. So, interestingly, the CAP's approach to teaching literature is quite fundamental and pedagogically sound. That's really encouraging the importance of reading, how reading should be underscored by everything. Interestingly, they say those people who are proficient readers are sure to be successful in life. And it's one of the indicators of success right up to grade 12, if you can read. Read for learning, read for meaning. Okay. So what CAP says, the main reason for reading literature in the classroom is to develop in your learners a sensitivity and for the special use of language. So they will understand that you are a teacher that takes the learner's hand, you open the learner's mind, here's my quote, and you touch the heart, because there's a sensitivity in language which is not direct, which actually is beautiful, which is poetic, which actually unleashes the heart and the feelings and the emotions. And you want your learners to experience this beauty in language as well. So it's language that is more refined, it's not direct, it's picturesque, it's descriptive, it's focused on beauty. It's literary, it comes from books, it comes from literature, it comes from readings. It is figurative, it's not literal. So you're going to speak about personification and similes and metaphors and alliteration, not the literal meanings of words. Symbolic. So if you talk about red, you might be talking about blood. If you're talking about blackness, you might be speaking about death. If you're speaking about a dove, you'll be speaking about peace. So it's not the actual meaning, the literal meaning of the word or the color that is meaningful here. It's just a symbolic part of that. And it's meaningful because you're speaking about blackness or black day. You gain an understanding of depression in this person's life, or clouds and hate raining down on people, how immense that hate is. So that makes meaning in your soul. And this is much more of what else they make. It's this reading literature, this more than any other kind of reading. So you can do all kinds of readings in the class, but reading literature is going to do this more, this touch the heart, than any other kind of reading that your students might be exposed to, like WhatsApps. Okay. So there's a lot of CAPS approaches to teaching literature. So they say literary texts are created for entertainment. Okay, we enjoy reading them. I'm enjoying reading The Missing Sister by Lucinda Riley, for amusement, for fun, if you want to laugh at different things, or to reveal something that's a revelation. But what's happening with the vaccination process? All the teachers are being vaccinated now. So it might be a whole situational thing that they're speaking about vaccination and how revealing what is actually really happening with the vaccination. So serious writers, and you might be a serious writer, okay, and you like writing, so they will create novels and plays and poems which they want to share and reveal to their readers. People aren't reading them, it's useless really. You're writing for readers, and you're going to share your ideas that you've got, your thoughts, deepest thoughts that you have, issues that you've got with people, with situations, your principles, your morals, your understandings, your ideologies, what your beliefs are, what you really feel is important in life. Okay. And you as a writer are going to be very imaginative in the way you're going to use this language to reveal, to reinforce and highlight your ideas and your thoughts, because you want to be very creative in how you express, so that people will really know what you are thinking and what you are feeling. Okay, that's why the language is so descriptive. So it says, what is literature? It deals with ideas, with thoughts, with emotions, often of man and woman, coached in beautiful language. There we are. So literary language is beautiful and it touches your soul. So again, we're going to first now look at the CAPS literature reading approach, what they say. And I've got a slide share little link there that you go and check out when I upload my PowerPoint, after Joshua has actually reminded me. Rowena also reminds me. Thank you, guys. And it says to read as much of the text in class as possible without breaking for any other activity. So that's saying in the class you have to read the whole text, but now we'll have to refine this a bit as we go along without breaking for any other activity. So don't break the text up into little snippets with different activities. Get to a chunk of text, because that will create interest in your readers and your learners. But do not take more than 2 weeks to get through maybe a short story, chapter, an act in your drama. It's essential that learners have a clear idea of what is going on at the most basic text level. So you giving them this reading, so they've got a basic understanding of what the story is. So if you're reading Romeo and Juliet, do the whole act one, so they get a sort of feel of what Montagues and Capulets are, or reading Macbeth, what's actually happening with Macbeth, how wonderful he is as a soldier. What is the witches, how they impacted on his understanding and his ambition. So they've got their basic understanding of what is happening in that play. However, hear what I'm saying? Here's the little flag. Spending too long on reading a text is deleterious. What a lovely word, deleterious, which is harmful to a clear understanding of the narrative line and plot. So if the teacher goes on and on, line by line, too much, is going to be harmful for students actually understanding the narrative, what it's all about, and what the story is about. Okay, so don't do that. Not weeks and weeks of reading the text. So if your class can get on and read without support, that is to be encouraged. You don't have to read everything. So if you've got a great class, you can say, read this chapter, and they will go and read it. That's wonderful, and encourage that. You don't have to read it as a teacher. Get them to do it. That's what you need to do. That's what we want to achieve in our classes, really. So still with capstone teaching approaches, the whole purpose of teaching literary text is to show learners how the home language can be used with subtlety, intelligence, imagination, and flair. Not only English, but is it Xhosa, is it Zulu, Afrikaans, is it Pedi, all our 11 languages, German, Greek, Italian, all can use their home language beautifully, not only English. It can be shared, and I think you all know across your cultures and across your languages how beautiful language can be shared to show all of those things, all those traits. This means taking a close look at how text is created, manipulated, and rearranged. This is why we always need the tools to interpret, to understand. So if you're going to analyze a poem or a short story, you have to have the tools. You have to know what a plot is, what character is, what denouement is, what climax is. You have to know what all the figures of speech are, because otherwise you don't have the tools to discuss the work. And this is what we've got to help our learners to look at that text, how it was created, and then to unpack it and evaluate it to make an assessment of it. There might be, this might involve examining whether there is imagery or no imagery. Why is the writer so direct, or why is everything so full of imagery? Why is there so much jewels and gold and associated with power, or why is there nothing associated with power? What kind of imagery is being used by the writer? Is it a lot of talking about clothing? Okay, I like clothing because Macbeth always speaks about clothing. He says, my clothing is sitting loose on me. That doesn't mean he's lost weight. It actually means that he's not used to this situation, or my clothing is not fitting me means he's not into this role of king. So clothing can take on a whole part of imagery. There's daggers in men's smiles. The whole idea of a dagger, all right, be the serpent. Okay, so all that imagery of snake, deceit, lying comes in with use of snake. Look at the sentence structures and paragraphing. Are they long paragraphs? Are there lots of dialogue? Are they very short sentences? You've got to have a look at those technicalities. Look at the layout of poems. Are they couplets, iambic pentameter? Are they ballads? Are they odes? Is it more lyrical look that we're looking at? So you would know what a haiku looks like. So the technical stuff you need to know to actually analyze. Look at the words that they use. Why does he only use archaic words like whither and thither and fray and yonder? All right, why were those words chosen? Or the motives or the ideas? Why did he use the whole idea of coldness whenever the woman came in the room, or heat when she came in the room? So you have all these ideas that the author might use. Symbols, remember a crown, what does it represent? What does a leaf represent? What does a dagger represent? What does a serpent represent? What about sound? Alliteration sounds, snakes, okay, there's sound. Or onomatopoeia, bang, boom, all right? What about the use of color? Black, red, gray, all those beautiful symbolic meanings that come with blue, that come with gray, that come with black, that come with yellow. Why are they using those words and those colors? So most of this work should be text-based. It comes in the text because that's what we are studying. We're studying different texts. But if you go line by line study of that text, it can be destructive to how subtle the author is trying to get the meaning across. So line by line analysis, endless reading of your literature is also destructive to students getting the plot, the narrative, and the subtlety that is coming through. No. Okay, I'll cross. This is the owl, the wise owl says, reading literature is a process in which the reader should engage actively. So it's not all about the teacher teaching and killing the poem or the drama or the short story, but which your students are participating with you and engaged in what they are reading and what they are understanding and what they're interpreting. So we can look at resources now. The 4 things we can look at this evening. reading resources and activities, first of all, and I'm going to look at the whole idea of what we call a literature circle, how you could actually do reading of short stories or reading of articles or any kind of reading in your class. You have groups of 6 and each one has a different role and each one has to do something else with that piece of literature or that piece of reading. So it's more like a structured book club within your class, which is quite nice if you want to kind of engineer a structured approach to reading. So students get together and they read a story or a book or a short story in small groups or chapters, however you want to manage it. And then they complete 6 activities afterwards. Each of those 6 people have got a different role to play in the literature circle. So they have assigned specific tasks and all of them have to participate individually in different ways to engage with the story. With engagement, they're actively participating. So this is the that you give out to them. It's your literature circles, our story, what it is, the story title, who's the author, the people in my group, and then we first of all have the discussion director. There we go. 6 in a group. They all read the same story and then they complete individual tasks. So the people in your group, you look at the section on the left here. Discussion director, the summarizer, the word wizard, the illustrator, real life connector, story connector are the 6 different roles. And once they've finished their role, they come together and they discuss it as a group once they've done their section of the work. And this can be chapter by chapter or section by section or book by book, however you choose to do it. If it's a short little book, they can do one whole story at a time. So how? Let's look at the group roles. First of all, we've got the discussion director. And this is the person that will go and pose open-ended questions about what has been read. And then he discusses or she discusses with the group. So this could be after a section. What is the open-ended question? What do you predict is going to happen? Why do you think this character came into the role? Why? Who do you think they still need to discuss this with? So sort of open-ended questions which he will discuss or she will discuss with the group. Then the summarizer will write a summary of what happens in the story. So that could be not the whole story, it could be a section of the story, it could be an event, it could be a chapter, but that person will be responsible for doing a summary of that event or that section or that chapter or that whole book. The word wizard is maybe the person who likes looking for meanings of words and definitions of difficult words. So you've got your sections you're going through. This person will go and find definitions for difficult words and will present them to the group as well. Illustrator is someone who illustrates a scene or event in the story. You don't have to be an amazing drawer to do this. You can download images. You can use some kind of software to create the scene. It could be a comic strip, but you can be quite creative and imaginative in how you're going to illustrate that story, but maybe more the arty type person who's in the differentiated learning sphere of is good with spatial things as well. Then the real life connector, this is quite interesting, is going to take that event or that story and will connect it to something that's happened in their own life. All right, so maybe it's a plane crash, maybe it's a car crash, maybe it's a snowing event that's been experienced, maybe it's someone hurting themselves, but they will take that event and compare it to something in their own lives. Then we have the story connector, another role, number 6, who connects the events in the story to events that have happened in other stories. Okay, let's think about Little Red Riding Hood and the 3 Pigs. How are they connected? Well, there are wolves in both stories. Is there a hero overcomes all? Yes, Little Red Riding Hood, as well as the little piggy that actually was able to build his house and was able to overcome the wolf blowing it down. So there are similarities in it. So there's all kinds. What about Goldilocks? What about other stories that have got connections and similarities? So you're going to try and connect it. Your protagonist, your antagonist could be the wolf. You could the pig could be the protagonist, who's actually the hero. What about in the story? We think about working hard. Little Pig and Daybreak, all saying that you should work hard. If you're going to work hard and do it properly, you can accomplish so much. So there might be a theme that is similar. So here's the role of individual worksheets. Everyone will have a worksheet. The director, what the director will have to do. Your job is to lead and discuss and introduce the section of text to be discussed to keep the conversation going. There's a discussion directors worksheet with the, and I've got the little link here where you can go and actually get these little worksheets as well if you wanted to use them. Here's the summarizer, what their job is. Here is the what they have to do. The word wizard, who defines difficult words. There's what they have to do. Choose new word, 2 new words from the reading assignment. Write each word on a page number with an index card, and so on. Or you could put the word down, what the definition is, the part of speech, sentence from the book, my sentence using it, and that's the kind of way the words can be revealed to the group. That's a word wizard. And then you have the story connectors, and you'll also have the real life connectors. So what does TEHFS say to poetry reading? So we gain on to number 2 now, poetry reading, and says poetry from TEHFS says it is supposed to be read aloud. Okay, so you should be able to speak poetry. Maybe encourage your students to speak poetry. It is not, poetry should be taught, not the poems. So you mustn't get your students learning the poems off by heart, but you must be teaching them, giving them the tools to unpack and understand and interpret what poetry is all about, according to TEHFS. So TEHFS says read as many poems as possible in your class and ensure that your learners read and write poems as well. So this is part of the TEHFS saying, wanting you to read the poems, encourage the reading of poems, but also get your students to write poems. I think they enjoy doing that as well. So this is a way you can analyze poems that they're going into exam. They could think of the SWIFT analysis. It's an acronym for each of those letters stand for a different type of analysis that they're going to do if they're studying a poem. So if you look at the S, the first part of SWIFT, it's the structure of the poem. It's what you see when you look at the poem visually. Is it a ballad? It's a structured thing like this. Is it a haiku, little verse? Is it free verse? What it looks like. So you'll note what you see when you just look at it. Then you will look closer. You look at the lines, the stanzas, the rhyme scheme. Is it iambic pentameter? Are there couplets? What is the rhyme scheme? A, B, B, C, C. Think about the rhyme scheme. And what is it? What type of poem is it? Is it an ode? Is it ballad? Is it a sonnet? Is it a haiku? What type of poem type are we looking at? A lyrical poem, etc. Then we look at the sound devices. Those are the things like your alliteration, onomatopoeia, in the structure as well as the rhyme scheme. So if you look at the sound devices in Daybreak, it's all the sound. The ships cried, sails, the whole thing of the sound the wind is making. What about the word shout? Okay, so you've also got the whole onomatopoeia coming through there as well. A bird awake and sing. Okay, all the movement that is coming through. Our tower, that sound, the assonance that you can hear there. What is the effect of that? All right, and the rhyme scheme. Those are the couplets from Daybreak. Then you gain onto word choice. There's the W for Swift. Emotionally charged and powerful words. What are they? If you think about the word shout, all right, or I love the one about the bird's folded wing. You can just see the bird's wing folded into itself. That's sleeping, that's secure when you use those. But think about the words and why are they powerful? Connotations of what do those words mean? If you say bow, what is the connotation of bow? What does it actually mean? Not the literal meaning, but means that you are being subservient, that you're being obedient to whatever is happening. Then why did the poet choose his words? Why did he want the corn to bow? Okay. It says there, and whispered to the fields of corn, bow down and hail the coming morn. It's because they're bowing down and they are saying, here comes the dawn, and they are worshipping the dawn that's coming to you. So that's why they bow and showing respect. Okay. Go back to your word choice and consider the tone. Tone is how happy, sad, depressed, loving, warm, cold, do those word choices. I think through Daybreak, I just see a sense of haste and imploring for people to not sleep, but to get up and work as the day moves forward. Okay, what is the tone, the haste that's coming through? Going on to I, the Swift, the imagery. What pictures come to mind when you read the poem? Yeah, I see the sun rising, I see the wind blowing, I see the trees, I see the forests, I see the graveyard. All those images that come to mind. When we say to the graveyard, not yet in quiet lie. So it's not time to sleep now. It's not time to die now. It's time to work. Find vivid languages that appeals to your senses. Remember your senses, smell, sight, touch, what else is there? Taste, all the things that you can feel. The shout is definitely for your hearing. And what else is there? The smell that you can actually, maybe the leafy banners, you can actually see them. So those are things that appeal to your different senses. The eye. Going on to the F, the figurative language. Okay, and this is what all students love. I can see in everything that happened in assignment 1.2 with the lesson, when you had to extend the lesson, a lot of people wanted to put figures of speech in. I think they all love figures of speech. So it's an understanding that students must have of all figures of speech, from personification, metaphor, simile, alliteration, assonance, rhetorical question, oxymoron, hyperbole, all those ones. They need to understand them, but they have to identify and explain why the language is figurative. So to identify your figure of speech, but also to explain what it means in terms of the poet wanted to compare what he was trying to say. And that's why you have to discuss the impact of the figurative language. So it's not just saying there is assonance there or alliteration or personification. What is the impact of him choosing that the wind got the voice? Okay, the wind shouted, that the wind was actually saying all the words. Why did he create that idea of the wind being so powerful? Okay. The T is the last one, theme and tone. So you consider the message the poet is trying to send the audience. And remember we said in Daybreak, it's a call to work. Maybe Little Pigs too was a call to work and do things properly. So what is the statement about life that the poet or the writer is making? And this is quite universal usually, and it's applied to generations, races, sex, and even across time periods. It's got meaning. So although Daybreak was written in the 1700s, it's got meaning to me as well. It should have meaning to you. On the right, there's another section there, poetry analysis, collage there. You've got structure and it's got little questions there. How is the poem organized? The rhyme, the word choice, the imagery, the figurative language, and the theme and tone. And you've got little inserts here explaining to you what these things are. So it's a good way to analyze the poem. For each of the swift, the little tiny insert there on the right, the poem's title that you put down. Then for each of the swifts, the S, the W, the I, F, and T, you identify the element of each of those. You explain and quote something from the poem to support the S sound. You indicate the symbolic illustration about that S sound, the structure, and then you annotate the poem and paste it into your collaborate poster. Okay, showing all those things. These are different tasks and analysis of the poem that you can actually carry out. Yes, a little thing on theme, the last one, the swift. The theme is the writer's message or main idea is what the writer wants you to remember the most. So what is the final message? And these are common themes throughout, from courage, hope, prejudice, loyalty, change, survival, friendship, determination, self-improvement. There are just so many themes that you can have. And I've asked you for your assignment 3 to choose a theme. And we've had things like bullying, poverty, joy, hate, love, interesting parenting came through today as well. So there's different themes that you could choose. Okay, we get on to number 3, the novel or the short story. And these are different worksheets that you could use if you are teaching the short story. So it says here, tell me more, describing characters, settings, and events. There's event, and then you've got different questions you can answer and give details from the text to support. So how would you describe the event? How does the event affect the rest of the story? Number 3, how does the event affect the characters in the story? How is the event important to the story? You can take any event in anything. How do you feel about this event? Why do you feel this way? So it's one way to structure assessing one event in a book or in a story. And I've got a link there for you as well. Yes, here's your whole plot, how it works from the exposition to the rise in action, to the climax, to the fall in action, to the resolution. And this is a whole discussion of how you can structure an analysis as well. Here we've got the 3 little pigs. Again, my favorite, the exposition. And here you've got the what happened with pig number 1, pig number 2, the climax. When the wolf falls into the chimney, and then the resolution when the pig eats him. Did you know that? I didn't know that, but there's a plot diagram. So they can take any kind of story and then they can actually plot it visually like this. And with the internet nowadays, it's quite easy to look at how the exposition is going to work, the different events. When we spoke about events, building up to the climax, and how the falling action happens right down to the resolution. Here's another one, plot development, and they could actually just write little aspects of what was the exposition, what's the story about, what was the rise in action, climax, falling, and resolution. And here's another plot diagram with how they can actually analyze it, the themes, the setting, the characters, and so on. And they could actually complete that little worksheet, which would be quite fun, I think. And here's another literature activity choice board. These are different things they could do with the story. For possibly in chapter 1, they can look at vocabulary. In chapter 2, they can draw or paint something to do with that story. In chapter 3, maybe they can look at alphabet soup. They can look at different worksheets about words and that are used in the poem or the story or the novel. A collage, grammar. Yes, there's a grammar section there for those of you who like grammar, the use of color and so on. I can't actually read, it's not that clear here. And so on. So they can do all kinds of character matches, comic strip, the last one. They can actually do a little comic strip. So these are different kinds of activities you could have for each different section. Maybe just choose 1 or 2 of them as something different for different groups to do, or different groups can do different things. Character traits are quite nice with these short story, to give them the words, remember, to equip them so they can analyze characters. Yes, a smart person can be intelligent, clever, bright, sharp, brainy, keen. So you've got all the different words you can use to describe somebody who's smart, someone who's creative, someone who is bad, okay, it's naughty, terrible, wicked, mischievous, disobedient, cheeky, all those words, okay? So you've got nice words, and this is where you can build a vocab, is relating it to those characters. They could even go and do their own little searches to try and find different traits. And there is your link as well to that. About a character, you can also do the little drawing, his appearance or her appearance, what I like about this, what this character likes, what they dislike, who the character reminds you of, what the character thinks, how the character is like you, what traits do you share, describe some behavior, what would you change about this character, and what are the character's fears. So this is quite a nice way you can actually go and look at different characters, and different groups could have different characters which they will relate to. A character analysis essay, now you've got the introduction, the who, what, where, when, why, and how. This actually happened, there's no introduction. Then you've got 3 different traits that you're going to speak about, and you explain the trait and give evidence for the trait. So there'll be paragraph 1, paragraph 2, paragraph 3, and then you can have some closure and insight that you gain about this character. So a character analysis essay that you could actually do in this way. And here's another whole lot of little tasks that you can do about a character. It's this literature circles role sheet, character captain, and you can have adjectives to describe the main character. And then you've got some character's thoughts that the character might have. Who is the main character? A quote from the main character. Do you like this character? Would you want them to be your friend? Sorry about that. And so you'd have this whole character worksheet, which you can give different groups, different characters to do. And we get on to number 4, drama. We're getting there. And this is all about different drama role play scene starters, which is quite fun. 50 impromptu prompts, and there is your little link there. For instance, you can be a drama role play. You open the front door to a persistent vacuum salesman, so they would act that out. A child attempts to sneak into the kitchen to eat the last cookie, and they would act that out. Drama role play. So a hairdresser accidentally dyes someone's hair green. Okay, so these are different little snippets, and there's 50 impromptu ones you can choose. Make it relevant to your class. Telling your teacher that you haven't done the homework, asking for extension on your assignment. Role play those things. Okay. Also, the whole technical language that you need if you're speaking about drama, all the theoretical terms from the side, the backdrop. Here's a whole list of the terms, what they mean. And then you could have some kind of a task sheet like this, where they've actually got the definitions and they've got to try and put the actual terms in with that. So the technical language is needed to unpack an analysis of a drama. And here's another one, the elements of the drama. What is the structure of the drama, the setting, the cast of the characters, the actual plot again, the different tools that you're going to need to do a drama. So these are ways you can look at the elements of drama. And here's another one, number 4, on drama. You've got the different elements of drama. You've got what the script is, actors, dialogue, scenes, props, theatre, acts, and you can do a little poster like this, identifying the different aspects or elements of a drama. And there again is the element, the definition, and how does it help the reader to know this? For instance, a playwright is a person who wrote the play. Definition can help us understand the purpose. So it's quite nice what they can do with what it helps the reader with. Okay. Drama review, those of you that like reviews, here again, here's also a little template for you. The title, the main characters, other characters, the setting, when did this happen, the time, who's your favorite character and why? Did you like the drama? Why or why not? And this could be the same with the short story of the poem, where you'd have a similar kind of little review that they could write about the drama or the review about a poem. For instance, here's something from Act 5, Scene 2. Again, my favorite, Macbeth. Angus is speaking, and you can do a whole annotation of it, looking firstly at keywords going through this piece, and also again here speaking about clothing. Now does he feel his title hangs up loose about him like a giant's robe upon a dwarfish thief. Macbeth has been described that his title as king hangs loosely on him. That means he's too thin to carry it, means he's not a very good king. What is meant by faith breach? So you can go through the whole thing, having a look at one little scene, one little lot of lines, and work through keywords, what they mean, and so on. But just remember, this can also maybe be too hectic for a grade 8 or grade 9. It's become more for a grade 12 to understand a section of a scene. Okay. Right. This is just the last section. I'm going to take you to different stages that you could have within your class. If you're using a story or play extract or a poem and you'd like to know how you can work through it, this will be stage 1, your warmer or your pre-lesson orientation. This gets your students thinking about the topic or the poem, and this can take several forms. You can have pair discussion, how they can discuss about what they think it's going to be, or a whole class. I don't like a whole class because it breaks down, it's too noisy, it's not structured and controlled. It could be a guessing game between students. It could be a brainstorming of vocab. So this kind of warmer up. Okay. It says you devise a warmer that considers the literature source about it. So it must be related to what you're doing. Find out what the students know about the author. Okay. And this could be done in group work. Give them something to read about it, not too long, but just enough to give them some insight into the character, the time that they were writing. Avoid text overload, so don't give them a big ream of paper. Explain in what way this literature extract is well known. It might be quoted in modern films or by politicians. So this is one way you can actually be very focused. Okay, so it's the author's background, a section about him to read or her to read, and then say why this person may be well known. Okay, this could also be a kind of warmer. Stage 2, but before you start reading the actual text, is sometimes you might have to speak about certain words or terms that are used in the drama or the poem or in the book. It says here's a note here: pre-teaching vocab should be approached very cautiously, and I'm not one for going through word for word. If you do that too much, you can kill the text. Okay, by spending too much, there's a dagger. Okay, if you're doing every little word and explaining it too much, they say if you've got more than 7 or 8 words, the students are going to understand on one page. It's a good chance that this is too difficult for them. So rather limit the number of words that you cover at this stage. Okay, don't teach more than 7 or 8. I said don't teach 3 on a page. Do you think really needs to be known? So you're going to look at very difficult words, 3, not more than 3. You're going to make predictions about what they think is going to happen. So give them an extract of some words and say, what do you think is going to happen? What's the play? Give them some lines of dialogue. What's going to happen, do you think? And this gives students a taste of what they're going to be studying. Okay, so they can first read part of the extract. You can read part of the extract. They can have their books closed or the papers turned over at a normal speed, but quite quickly. All right, you're just giving them a taste. Then ask the students to compare what they've understood. From what I've read, what did you understand about what I've read? Maybe nothing, or maybe something. Then ask them to report back to you. Then read that again, what you've just read them. So they've heard you once, they've discussed it, they've reported back, and you read it again. Their understanding is going. Then ask them to open the book or turn over the page and read it for themselves, what you have read. So this will be the third time they're actually hearing about it. So that will be the before reading stage. You give them a taste of what you are reading, and there's ways you can do it. Then stage 3, understanding the text, general comprehension of it. So this is the actual text that they can understand. So the teacher will read the whole text, okay, to get a feel for the text. And this can be quite a powerful thing. So you've read those sections, now you're going to read the whole text. If you've got a good learner that can read, get them to read so you can get that feel of the text as well. Then the learners must actually read it themselves. Okay, give them a chance to experience reading that the first time without giving them any specific task other than to read it. Don't break it down into tasks. Say, okay, I've read this extract. I want you to go and read the next 2 pages, and give them a chance to simply read it with no task, just to go and read it. The aim is to evoke interest and pleasure from the language. Okay, that's why you want them to read it. No task, just to go and read it. If they actually read it, you've accomplished a lot. If the students have to do a task every stage of the literature lesson, the pleasure can be lost. Okay, so don't overload them with tasks. I think I sometimes do that. Okay, so think about that. We're still trying to understand the text, general comprehension of what it's about. Once they've read it once, send some questions for them to explain the significance of certain key words, for instance, in the text. So you give them some kind of little question. Another way to check their comprehension is to ask them to explain it to each other in pairs, as we did in the pre-warming section. This can be followed up with more subjective questions. What do you think of the words they used? Do you think they were appropriate? What other words did you have used? What didn't you like about the words? What did you like about the words? Okay, the different kinds of questions you can ask are, why do you think X said this? Why did Macbeth say that? What do you think the woman feels when he said that to her? What made him do this? Okay, so why was he horrible to her? So you think about those questions and they can discuss that in class. Now we're getting to understand the language in stage 4. This comes to grips with the more difficult words in the text. We've done a superficial looking at it. We've done some reading of it. We've done some discussion and predictions. Now we're going to get to the nitty gritty, the difficult words. See how many unfamiliar words they can get from the context. You don't give it to them all the time. Let them determine how many words are difficult. If they can't get them, give them clues. So look in paragraph 1. There must be one word that they don't understand. Also look at elements of style that the author has used. Is it a pedantic? Is it a flowery? Is it a very straightforward? Is it a very figurative? Is it a very literal style that the author is using? If it's appropriate to the text, look at the word connotations. What does the word blue mean in the context of this story, of this poem? Or what does smile mean in the context? Is a smile something that is quite sinister, or is it something that is showing love and friendship? Okay, maybe it could be sinister. For example, the text says she had long, skinny arms. Okay, long, skinny arms. Okay, there she is. What does this say about the author's impression of the woman? That she was very slim, or you liked her arms. But if he had written she had long, slender arms, what is the difference? So look at word choice. The word skinny is different to slender. Same as fat and obese are 2 different words. Okay, chubby. Okay, long face, which is I've got as well. So those things have different connotations, and they can make people feel a bit awkward or very happy with the use of those words. Okay, we get on to stage 5 now, follow-up activities. Once the teacher has read and worked with a whole piece of literature, It can lead to one or more follow-up activities. You never just leave it cold. You have to have some kind of consolidation to finish it off. For example, learners anticipate poem content by doing an exercise. Okay. So here's task 1. The poem's title is A Child's Scandal. Now, you might not know what scandal is. Okay, so you'd have to determine, do your learners know what a child's scandal could be? What is it? Could be something good, something bad? Think about it. Give 2 minutes to the students to write down any thoughts associated with it. You might say, oh no, I don't really like this. It's not going to be a very nice poem. Or, oh, this will be quite interesting. I wonder what this child did. Okay. There's the word scandal. And then there can be a brief class discussion to compare different answers, what different students said about what a child's scandal is. Okay, then they can predict what the poem is about. This gets interest going in something, and without the teacher telling, I've been marking assignment 2's lesson plans, and I think just about 99% of them start with the teacher asking questions. There's no inductive discovery, letting the students unpack what they think active listening is, for instance, or whatever other topics were being discussed. So not to start every lesson with a question, get them to predict, to understand, to put down their own thoughts and to discuss it amongst themselves without teacher taking control of everything. Think about it. Okay, so there's another, I think we get into the last one, where you can approach something. It's a think, research, create approach, okay? It's an assignment type approach for literature. You pick a short story, a poem, a drama, any of the genres that you've done. Then they're required to do some research on the background to provide an overview of the poem. Where's the poet from? What was his time? What the situation at that point when you wrote the poem, or she wrote the poem, the background. Then highlight 3 aspects of the text that are interesting. 3 things about the poem that are interesting, 3 things about the short story that's interesting, 3 things about the drama or the reading that are interesting. Then they must write a script for an informational video about that short story or poem. And that will include the title, obviously, the background, the 3 interesting aspects of the actual poem or the short story, for a video that's going to give information about that short story. Then they must go and create the video to share what they have learned with the class. And remember, each of the groups can have different videos as well. They can then post 3 questions for the audience to answer in their informational video, which is quite nice, about the content they've actually presented. And the students can actually write down answers in class if they've listened well. Active listening, please unpack it to your class. How do you do active listen? How do you do note taking? So important. And they can use Adobe Voice Video to do it. They can do Zoom like I'm doing now. They can use PowerPoint with recording. They can use all kinds of things and then upload it onto YouTube, MP3-4, all different ways we can actually do some kind of video. So it's quite an interesting way to actually do a little assignment after we've finished a section on poetry or short stories or dramas, for them to do this informational video. One of my students in UA did a thing on the TED Talks that was on time management. You can hear it now. Okay, you've got the idea. But just to go back to this, make it no more than 3 minutes. Give them a time limit as well, so they can play it quickly, do an informational. The person will know something about the short story, and they can answer 3 questions about it. And it'd be quite creative for them as well. Just you can have the voiceover, and the pictures can be all images with a person reading the script. Finally, activities linked to reading. Creative writing should always be linked to the study of any text. So that's what we said in your consolidation for your lesson plans for assignment 2. Often I just ended with the teacher asking the child or the learner a question or questions. That's not a consolidation. It would rather be for the teacher to say, what did you find interesting about the short story? What did you find challenging about the short story? And they must actually write it down. So the whole idea of written text supporting any kind of other text is important. The other way is also, see, I'm going the wrong way, is class discussions can be very fruitful. So most of you just ended a lot of you ended your lesson plans with class discussions, but from that it should lead to written work. Okay, so some kind of short, brief summary or overview or answering of the question would be much better than just leaving up in the air as a discussion. But class discussions that lead to written work and written activities serve a clearer purpose and benefit both. Okay, so that's better for you to actually do this, and there's a whole lot of links for you about this. Finally, it's important to point out literature is not about right answers. Yes, if they can support what they've said with evidence from the poem, the drama, the short story, the reading, that's fine. It's not your point of view. If they've got a point of view, you must allow your learners to engage with the text and come up with their own point of view. This is what you're trying to achieve in writing and reading and listening. Yes, there's a tick. A teacher is a compass that activates the magnets of curiosity. You don't want to kill literature for them. You want them to be curious. Knowledge, you want them to gain knowledge and the wisdom in pupils. So you want to be that magnet that's going to activate curiosity, knowledge, and wisdom in your learners. That's it. I'm done. Here we go. You've got a bit of poetry there. I'll let you into my soul, but wipe your feet at the door. Otherwise, you might just muddy my soul. So those are very powerful words from Atticus, the dramas, the short stories, and above all, reading. Don't neglect reading. This is where it all comes together. This is where you're inspired, where you learn. Equip your learners with the tools to interpret, to analyze, to understand, predict, and become aware of the beauty of language that is going to awaken their souls to what lies ahead in another world that is not just direct, literal, and business-like. Okay, awaken their souls to other aspects of reading. Okay, have a good evening, and I'll see you on Zoom next week. And best wishes for the last stretch with all those submissions. We chat later. Take care and stay safe, stay warm, and hang in. Bye for now.